You're standing in the kitchen. It's 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. Someone just asked what's for dinner. Your child can't find their library book. The dog needs feeding. And something inside you snaps, not a big explosion, just a sharp edge in your voice, a heaviness in your chest, a sudden wave of I cannot do this one more second. Later, you feel guilty. You wonder why such small things set you off. You tell yourself you're overreacting, that other parents handle this just fine. But here's what's really happening. It's not about the dinner question or the lost book. It's about the thousand invisible decisions, worries, and mental tasks you've been holding all day, all week, all month, until that one small request becomes the thing that finally makes you crack. This invisible mental load, it's not just making you tired. It's quietly building toward those moments when you explode, withdraw, or feel like you're failing everyone, including yourself. And the worst part? You blame your reaction instead of recognizing the real weight you've been carrying in silence. If this feels painfully familiar, you're not imagining it. And today, we're going to unpack exactly why this happens and how to stop the cycle before the next breaking point. If you've ever snapped at someone you love over something small and felt terrible afterward, don't scroll past this. Hit that like button and subscribe so we can keep reaching parents who need to hear they're not broken. They're just overloaded. I see you. I really do. You're the one who remembers the permission slip while brushing your teeth. You're the one mentally calculating if there's enough milk for breakfast while sitting in a work meeting. You track everyone's schedules, emotional states, and needs, often without anyone noticing until something slips, and when you finally react. When the pressure valve releases and you snap or shut down, you're left feeling ashamed like you're the problem. But you're not the problem. The invisible mental load is. And those explosions, they're not character flaws. They're your nervous system waving a red flag saying, this is unsustainable. Here's my promise to you today. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why the mental load leads to these breaking points. And you'll have 5 practical strategies to release the pressure before it builds to explosion. You won't eliminate stress overnight, but you will have tools to stop the cycle of overload, reaction, and guilt that's been quietly damaging your peace and your relationships. Here's what we'll cover. We'll explore 5 strategies. Strategy 1, recognizing your early warning signs before the breaking point hits. Strategy 2, externalizing the mental load so it stops living only in your head. Strategy 3, setting boundaries around decision fatigue and constant availability. Strategy 4, sharing the cognitive work, not just the physical tasks. Strategy 5, building in pressure release moments that prevent the buildup. These aren't about becoming a calmer person or managing your emotions better. They're about addressing the actual root cause, the relentless, invisible cognitive burden that no one should carry alone. Let's begin. Strategy 1, recognizing your early warning signs before the breaking point hits asterisk. Why does this matter? Most of us don't realize we're heading toward an explosion until we're already there. The mental load accumulates quietly. A little more pressure each day, until suddenly we're yelling about a towel on the floor or crying over spilled juice. If we can catch the warning signs earlier, we can intervene before we reach that edge. This protects our relationships and stops the shame spiral that follows every outburst. Scientific backing. Research on stress accumulation shows that our bodies give us signals well before we hit overwhelm. Tightness in the chest, shallow breathing, irritability over minor things, or a creeping sense of dread. But when we're deep in the mental load, we ignore these signals and push through, until we can't anymore. One study found that parents experiencing high cognitive load showed increased cortisol and decreased patience, creating a perfect storm for emotional reactivity. Here's a real example. Michael, a dad of 3, noticed he'd been snapping at his kids during homework time. When he tracked back, he realized the pattern. It always happened on days when he'd spent hours mentally juggling work deadlines, meal planning, and coordinating activities. His body was already maxed out before homework even started. Once he recognized the pattern, he could see it coming and make different choices. How to implement this? Start tracking your breaking points for 1 week. Each time you feel yourself snap, withdraw, or get disproportionately upset, jot down what happened right before. Look for patterns. Were you already holding 10 mental tasks? Had you skipped lunch? Were you the only one managing something that should be shared? These patterns reveal your unique early warning system. Your quick win action in the next 60 seconds. Think back to the last time you exploded or felt completely overwhelmed. What was happening in the hours before? Name one physical or emotional signal your body gave you. That's your early warning sign. Write it down. Strategy 2, externalizing the mental load so it stops living only in your head asterisk. This strategy is crucial because as long as the mental load stays invisible inside your mind, it keeps accumulating with nowhere to go. Every task, worry, and reminder you hold mentally takes up cognitive space and emotional energy. When it's all internal, there's no relief. And eventually, the pressure has to escape somehow. That's when we explode. Proof from real life: parents who externalize their mental load through lists, shared calendars, or voice memos report feeling significantly lighter, even when the tasks themselves don't change. One mom described it like this: "Once I started writing everything down instead of trying to remember it all, I stopped feeling like my head was going to burst. The explosion moments decreased because I wasn't maxed out just trying to hold everything." How to do this? Choose your external system. It could be a shared digital calendar, a family command center on the wall, a running note in your phone, or even voice memos to yourself. The key is getting tasks and worries out of your head and into a system you trust. When you think need to schedule dentist appointments, immediately put it in the system instead of adding it to your mental stack. When you're worried about your child's upcoming test, write it down instead of carrying it silently. Your quick win right now: open your phone and create a note called Mental Load Dump. Spend 2 minutes listing everything currently swirling in your head, every task, worry, reminder, or decision waiting to be made. Notice how even this small externalization creates a tiny bit of breathing room. Strategy 3: setting boundaries around decision fatigue and constant availability. Without boundaries around decisions and availability, you're always on, always the person everyone turns to for answers, solutions, and emotional regulation. This constant state of readiness is exhausting. It means your brain never gets a break from the mental load. Over time, decision fatigue sets in, and that's when the smallest request, "What's for dinner?" feels like the thing that will break you, because it's not one decision. It's the 47th decision you've made today while everyone else made three. Concrete evidence. Research on decision fatigue shows that every decision we make depletes our mental resources. Parents, especially primary caregivers, make an estimated 35,000 decisions per day related to their children. That's compared to about 70 decisions for adults without kids. This relentless decision making leads directly to irritability, poor choices, and emotional outbursts. Our brains literally run out of capacity. Relatable example: one parent implemented decision free zones, times when she was completely unavailable for questions or choices. From 7 to 7:30 p.m., her partner handled all kid questions. On Sunday mornings, she didn't make a single meal decision. Someone else chose breakfast. These small boundaries dramatically reduced her breaking points because her brain got regular relief from the constant demand. How to implement: identify your highest decision load times and create boundaries. Maybe you're not available for questions during your morning coffee. Maybe your partner owns all dinner decisions on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Maybe you institute a ask the other parent first rule for non emergencies. Communicate these boundaries clearly and kindly, then protect them. Quick win action: choose one small boundary you can set this week around decisions or availability. Tell your family, "I need a break from making choices about X. Can you handle that?" Notice how even one area of relief helps. So tell me in the comments right now, what's the smallest thing that's made you explode recently? I read every comment. Sometimes naming it out loud helps us see the pattern underneath. Strategy 4: sharing the cognitive work, not just the physical tasks. This is powerful because many households have learned to share physical tasks. One person does laundry, another does dishes. But the mental load, the planning, anticipating, and remembering, often still falls on one person. You might not be doing all the tasks, but you're still carrying all the cognitive weight. You're the one who notices the laundry needs doing, remembers to buy detergent, and tracks when the last load was done. That invisible management is what leads to explosion. Not the physical act of washing clothes. Scientific insight. Studies show that even when partners split tasks 50-50, the mental load often remains unbalanced. The person carrying the cognitive load experiences higher stress and lower relationship satisfaction because they're still the manager of family life. One research finding noted that it's not the doing that exhausts us most. It's the constant thinking, planning, and holding responsibility for outcomes. How to share cognitive work. Have an honest conversation using specific examples. Instead of saying, "I need more help," try, "I'd like you to own the entire mental process for school lunches," noticing when we're low on supplies, planning what to pack, and making sure it happens. Not just making the lunch when I ask. Transfer ownership of entire domains, not just tasks. Let go of how they do it. The goal is sharing the mental responsibility, not duplicating your exact methods. Your quick win: identify one domain you currently own mentally. Sports schedules, birthday party planning, medical appointments. This week, have a conversation about transferring full cognitive ownership to someone else. Walk them through what you hold in your head about it. Then step back. Strategy 5: building in pressure release moments that prevent the buildup asterisk. Without intentional release, the mental load just keeps accumulating, day after day, week after week. Even with better systems and boundaries, some load will always exist. That's why we need regular pressure release moments, small, consistent practices that let the steam out before it reaches explosion level. Think of it like a pressure cooker. If you never release the valve, eventually it's going to blow. Your nervous system works the same way. Real life example, a dad started taking 10 minutes every afternoon to sit in his car after work before going inside. He didn't scroll his phone or plan anything. He just sat. Those 10 minutes of transition became his pressure release. He noticed he stopped snapping at his kids during the evening rush because he'd given his overloaded brain a moment to decompress first. How to implement, build in micro releases throughout your day and week. A 5-minute breathing practice in the morning. A short walk alone, a phone call with a friend where you vent without fixing anything, a physical release like stretching or dancing. The key is consistency and intention. These aren't rewards for good behavior, they're necessary maintenance to prevent breakdown. Also create bigger releases weekly or monthly. A longer break where someone else holds everything. Time with friends, a hobby that requires focus and pulls you out of mental load mode. These aren't luxuries, they're essential prevention. Quick win action, schedule one small pressure release moment in the next 24 hours. Put it in your calendar. Treat it as non-negotiable. Even 5 minutes counts. There's one sneaky trap that makes the mental load explosion cycle even worse. The belief that if you just got better at managing it all, you wouldn't explode. This trap keeps you focused on controlling your reactions instead of addressing the actual overload. It makes you think the problem is your capacity or your temperament, when really the problem is that you're carrying an unsustainable burden. The fix: stop trying to become someone who can handle an impossible load without breaking. Start reducing the load itself. Reframe your explosions not as personal failures but as important data. Your system is overloaded and needs change. A powerful perspective shift. Your breaking points are not proof you're doing it wrong. They're proof you're human and you've been carrying too much for too long. Honor that message instead of fighting it. Let's recap the 5 strategies. First, recognizing your early warning signs before you hit the breaking point. Second, externalizing the mental load so it stops living only in your head. Third, setting boundaries around decision fatigue and constant availability. Fourth, sharing the cognitive work, not just the physical tasks. And fifth, building in pressure release moments that prevent buildup. Now picture this: 2 months from now, you're in the kitchen at 4 p.m., someone asks what's for dinner. But this time you don't feel that surge of rage or overwhelm, because you've externalized the meal planning, because your partner owns dinner decisions twice a week, because you took a 10-minute walk after work and released some pressure. You answer calmly, or maybe you don't answer at all because it's not your day to hold that question. The mental load still exists, but it's distributed, visible, manageable. You move through your evening without that simmering tension waiting to explode. You go to bed without replaying a guilt-filled outburst. You feel steady, present, like yourself again. That version of your life is possible. And it starts with these strategies. You've been carrying so much, far more than anyone sees. The explosions, the guilt, the feeling that you're failing. None of that means you're broken. It means you're overloaded and you've been doing your best under impossible conditions. You deserve support. You deserve to share this weight. And you deserve to move through your days without constantly bracing for the next breaking point. Thank you for being here today and for having the courage to look at this honestly. If this resonated, please share it with another parent who might be one small question away from their own breaking point. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do that now so we can keep having these real conversations about the hard parts of parenting that no one talks about enough. When you're ready, my next video is waiting. It's about protecting your peace when everything feels chaotic. Take care of yourself, you matter.